Okay, cool. We are going. So, yeah, hope you guys are having a great day. Like I said, just really exciting changes happening, or upgrades, whatever. So, have our new client app that our clients are using to track their progress. That is being all set up. Well, actually, it is all set up. Just trickling in the new training programs, but the new app, from what I've gotten as far as the feedback, the interface, the how user friendly it is just like upgrades better than what our previous app was. So really excited about that. Also, there's a really cool resource library in the app that I will be adding some really, really awesome educational resources for my one-on-one clients in there. So really excited for that upgrade too. Upgrades to the podcast name. If you haven't seen or haven't heard, the podcast is now called Fit Take with Joey Gast. So if you are regular listener to the podcast and you don't see a dietitian's take anymore, that is because it has changed to Fit Take with Joey Gast, which really excited about. Really the reason why I changed the name, honestly, there are a couple of reasons why. One is that I felt like a dietitian's take, while I did really like the name and while I am a dietitian, so, if I'm talking about various topics, giving my take on various topics, it's a name that's fitting, right? But I felt like I don't know, it boxed me in a little bit. I felt like as far as talking about just nutrition and nutrition only, right? Dietitian, nutrition, all that. And Fit Take with Joey Gast, I feel it kind of is a little bit more broad, where I can really dive into workouts, exercise, training a little bit more, mindset regarding fat loss, fitness. I mean, stuff I already talk about, but I feel like the name kind of connects with it a little bit more. And also too, I could even dive into some of the realms of like coaching and go into more like coaching topics that teaching other coaches how to best coach their clients too, because I do think the way I do coach clients helps them to be really successful, and I think talking about that more would be really fun and interesting and a little bit of a change in pace. And also too, if you're somebody who you're not a coach but you're a potential client, like hearing about how I coach my clients will also give you an inside look on what my coaching looks like, but also give you some strategies that you can use for yourself too. And also down the road, who knows, maybe I will go into some rabbit holes regarding fitness in the business realm regarding fitness. Since I do this full time, I have a full time coaching roster, and I have for a few years now, and it's been really, really great. So just felt like the new name, it was time to evolve a little bit. New name, finally updated my picture too on the podcast cover art. That picture I did have was probably a few years old, honestly. I don't take very many pictures of myself, not because I don't like to, but just because I'm not good at photography myself, so I don't. Also, if you are watching this, whether you're watching this maybe on YouTube later or you're watching on live in the Facebook group, finally put up some wall decor, I guess you could say, degrees, certifications, all that stuff. Have this really cool live on air light in the background too, which is kind of cool. I don't know, adds a little bit of taste, a little bit of a vibe to these videos. Maybe not. You'll let me know in the comments if you like this in the background or if it seems messy. But I think it's kind of cool. And yeah, so finally got those up. Updated the podcast name, all that stuff. So just some really cool upgrades. And like I said, a lot of really awesome upgrades to the client experience, which, that is going to be a big focus of 2024 for me, is just really enhancing the coaching experience for my clients, whether it be resources, whether it be apps that they can use, whether it be even just maybe even getting on calls with them more often to talk face to face. We talk a ton. My clients are able to text or voice message me on unlimited amount of times throughout the week. And obviously we have our weekly check-ins, but just really trying to enhance that part of it, because, there are a lot of coaching businesses out there that are always just focused on marketing, and they don't put enough effort, in my opinion, into enhancing the client experience, but also enhancing the client results. And that is something that I really pride myself on, is not only can somebody go through my program, but can they go through my program and actually get the result they want and walk away from it feeling genuinely happy about their experience. So those are just some updates, but uh, you probably have seen from the title of this that we're going to dive into fat burners. So this is a very fun topic for me, honestly. I love diving into supplements anyway, especially supplements that get a lot of hype or that people always ask me about. Like, I can't even tell you how many times somebody's asked me about, like, do fat burners work? Should I take a fat burner? Have sent me links to ones that they have been thinking about trying or have tried. And so I always like really enjoy diving into this kind of stuff. But fat burners, so the name is kind of self-explanatory as far as what they are marketed to do. So let's kind of, I don't know, not circle back, but let's back up a second and think, okay, a fat burner supplement. If we're going to analyze if it's effective or not, first we have to determine what is it actually supposed to do, or what is it marketed to do? Why would somebody even take this? So fat burners are marketed or are generally supposed to be used for helping us to lose more fat. But how do they do that, right? Like, you know, if you're not into the weeds with metabolism, into the weeds with nutrition and fat loss and all this kind of stuff, you might not really know how fat burners are supposed to work. You just hear the term fat burner and think, okay, this is supposed to help me lose more fat. But as somebody who obviously, like, I'm a dietitian, I'm looking at all this stuff, research it, you know, this is my life. We have to look deeper as far as how is this extra fat loss even occurring if it is. Like, if fat burners are going to help you lose more body fat than if you did not take one, how is it doing this? Like, it can't be just magic. There has to be some mechanism or some way in the body that it's actually helping. So fat burners can only really help in two different ways. One is it can help to increase your energy expenditure, which is another term for calories burned. So does it make you burn more calories throughout the day? And it's typically makes you burn more calories at rest. Like a fat burner, if it makes you somehow like exercise more, it's not really the fat burner that's making you burn more calories, it's the extra exercise. So fat burners typically, if it is going to increase your energy expenditure or calories burned, it's going to be through like your resting metabolism or metabolic rate. So is it increasing the amount of calories you burn per day? Or another way a fat burner could help is, does it decrease the amount of calories you eat throughout the day? So it doesn't make you feel full, right? Those are the two ways. We know calories in versus calories out. And, you know, there's a lot of debate on, you know, if that is true or not, which it absolutely is true. There are definitely complexities to calories in and calories out. But if you want to lose body fat, you have to intake less calories than what you burn. Now, that doesn't always mean eat less calories. Sometimes we can eat more calories, and then our calories burned ends up improving through hormones improving or just our exercise improving because we have more energy because we're eating more. So that's a topic for a different day. But it has to impact one of those two areas if it is going to make us burn more fat. So I actually took a fat burner once. I think I did it for 2 months. Back in, I would say it was probably 2013. And I'm trying to remember exactly which one it was. I cannot remember the name of it. Also, it's crazy to think 2013 was over 10 years ago. But I took it for a couple of months. And I think I paid like $70 or something for that amount. And that was 10 years ago too. So, and I saw like no difference in my fat loss at all. No difference in fat loss. No difference in my body weight from the fat burner. So my experience with the one that I took was definitely a waste of money. But let's dive into like the actual research, and, you know, maybe the one I took was just not a good one, or maybe there were other things that I did that counteracted the fat I could have lost from the fat burner. So let's kind of dive in and not just focus on my story, but actually dive into like the research behind things. So despite there being like a million different fat burners on the market, like you could type in fat burner on Google and probably find a million different links to different brands, to different supplements, and all this. Most of the actual research behind fat burners leading up to this point has actually shown no meaningful difference in weight loss, in fat loss, in body composition changes. So despite there being all these fat burners that you can buy, the research is pretty overwhelming up to this point that they just don't really work. They don't really help. But a recent study actually just came out not that long ago that may have shown or may have not shown, and we're going to dive into that, some kind of benefit or difference. So let's dive into this most recent study and kind of break it down a little bit. So this study, the name of it is Chronic Thermogenic Dietary Supplement Consumption: Effects on Body Composition, Anthropometrics, and Metabolism. So I know that's a mouthful. So simply put, the effects of a specific fat burner on fat loss, weight loss, body composition change, and metabolic rate. So how many calories you're burning. So in this study, there were 3 different groups. So one group changed nothing. So there was one group of people where they were told to don't change anything about your diet, don't change anything about your exercise. And that's what's called like the quote unquote control group. So usually when they look at studies, there's always a group that does nothing or changes nothing. That way, when you do implement something like a supplement or a fat burner, you can see the difference, right? So one group they were told to not change anything. The second group was told to have a serving of protein powder, or not necessarily a serving, but have a protein powder, and they calculated how many servings of the protein powder someone should have based on their body weight. But one group had protein powder plus this fat burner. And the specific fat burner was actually OxyShred by EHP Lab. So it was like a specific commercial fat burner that you can actually go and buy right now. But the second group consumed protein powder plus the fat burner. And then the third group consumed a protein powder plus a quote unquote fake fat burner. So this was supposed to mimic the fat burner, but it actually didn't have the fat burner in it. So the reason why studies do this, just for some, extra background, why they would even do a fake fat burner, like why not just do like a group taking nothing and then a group taking the fat burner, is because there's this thing called the placebo effect, which you might have heard of, which is basically if you are doing something, taking a supplement, eating a certain food that you truly believe is going to cause some kind of result like fat loss or even fat gain or building muscle, it actually can change the results, even if that supplement you're taking doesn't do anything actually. Like there are a lot of studies out there like caffeine versus no caffeine, but they take like a fake caffeine pill and people see the same effects or report the same effects as if they actually took caffeine because they truly believed it was caffeine. And this quote unquote placebo effect is really strong. So by giving somebody a quote unquote fake fat burner, it allows them to kind of eliminate that placebo effect because each group is taking something. Each group thinks they're taking a fat burner, but they don't know like which group they're in. Like these people didn't actually know that they were in the fake fat burner versus real fat burner group. So like both believed it was going to work. So it helps to flush out the placebo effect, if that makes sense. So like I said, 3 groups. One changed nothing. One was protein plus a fat burner. One was protein plus a fake fat burner. And they did this study for 4 total weeks. And what they did then, since there were 3 different groups, is they compared the difference between like group 1 and 2. They compared the difference in groups 2 and 3, and then they compared the difference in groups 1 and 3. So they compared the difference between all 3 of those groups, and they looked at differences in their calories burned or resting energy expenditure. So how many calories each person burned at rest. So they looked to see if this fat burner increased somebody's calorie burn at rest. They looked at body composition. They looked at fat loss changes. They looked at diet changes. They looked at mood, sleep quality, all this stuff. And when they looked at these variables, they actually did see a change in resting energy expenditure. So the amount of calories you burn at rest in the group who was taking the fat burner versus the group who was taking the fake fat burner. And also the difference, they found a difference in the group that was taking the fat burner versus the group that didn't take anything or didn't change anything. So what kind of difference did they see though, right? Like, and this is where like studies and articles, news articles can really influence you in a negative way, because they can say, oh, this significant difference was found. And when they say significant, when it comes to research, it doesn't necessarily mean it's meaningful, like it causes a big change in your actual results. It means statistically significant. So there's basically a bunch of equations that they do in research to see if this statistically, based on numbers, can be considered in the category of significant. But just because something is statistically significant doesn't always mean that it causes a noticeable change in the real world, basically. So I actually did find a statistically significant difference in how many resting calories were burned in each of these groups. So this was the difference that they found. The difference between the group that changed nothing, so the control group, the group that didn't make any changes to anything, versus the group that took the real fat burner plus had extra protein, the difference between those two groups was a 111 calorie per day difference in resting calorie burn. And they also found a difference in the two groups where one group had the fat burner plus protein, and then the second group had the protein plus the fake fat burner. And that difference was about 68 calories per day. So if you were to change nothing but add protein and this fat burner to your diet, you would burn around 111 calories more per day at rest. If you were already taking protein and you didn't increase protein and you just added in this fat burner versus if you had the protein and didn't add in the fat burner, you would burn 68 calories more per day at rest. So those are the differences in the numbers, right? And when you hear this, you hear, like I said, articles would probably run with this, right? And be like, oh, there's a statistical difference in, or a significant difference in calories burned when you take a fat burner. You should take a fat burner. But let's take a look at these numbers a little bit, because this might seem like a win overall, because you're going to burn more calories with this specific fat burner. But when they looked at the actual outcomes of fat loss, body composition, weight loss at the end of the 4 weeks, despite burning a little bit more calories with the fat burner, there actually was no difference in fat loss, in body composition, and weight loss. So why not? Why was there no difference in fat loss, even though, technically they burned a little bit more calories taking the fat burner? And this could be for a few reasons. Number one is that increasing your energy expenditure, so how many calories you burn, only makes up one part of the equation, right? We know, like I said, in general, in a simple sense, fat loss comes down to calories in versus calories out. Now, if you're increasing your calorie burn by, 68 calories per day, assuming you're already, having protein, that's only one side of the equation. And it's very easy to, if you're not tracking your food and you're not, being very diligent about logging, weighing, and measuring things, it's very easy to just, even though you're burning 68 calories more per day, it's very easy to just eat 68 calories more per day and make up for that difference. So that is one big reason why, this group might not have seen any extra fat losses, because the extra calories they burned at rest from this fat burner, they just ate it back, and then there was no net difference. Also, too, something to think about is this increased their resting energy expenditure by 68 calories per day, which increasing your resting energy expenditure doesn't always translate to total daily energy expenditure. So there's a difference. Resting energy expenditure is how many calories you burn at rest if you were to just basically lay in bed and not move per day at all. Total daily energy expenditure takes into account the total amount of calories you burn per day with exercise included, which just overall daily movement, walking to and from your car, fidgeting, talking with your hands, those types of things. So total energy expenditure is a little bit more accurate of a measurement to see what kind of differences in fat loss you're actually going to see, because it takes into account all of that. And there could be some specific mechanism in the body that happened that Sure, their resting energy expenditure increased by 68, but maybe there was some compensation in some way where it actually decreased their total energy expenditure. Maybe they, because they were burning a little bit more at rest, for some reason they had a little bit less energy to then go on an extra walk or walk for an extra couple minutes to burn those extra 68 calories. So it kind of evened out, right? So there are a couple of different reasons, probably other reasons too, why this might have happened, but this is also why it is so important when we're looking at research or a new study comes out to really understand there's a difference between like a supplement or something impacting one small variable of the equation versus it actually impacting the total result of the equation. So when we look at research, if there's something that comes about where, there is an effect, we have to look at the actual outcome. Same thing goes with all these studies that show, if you, do an ice bath, you're going to burn an extra, 50 or 100 calories from that. Or you, skip breakfast and you actually increase fat loss in the morning by this amount or whatever. Like all those things, are fine and dandy, but what's really important is at the end of the day is, are those things actually contributing to more fat loss or not? And most of the time when you explore these, sensationalized studies and things, whether it be supplements or weird hacks or, exposing your butthole to sunlight first thing in the morning or something, like the overall outcome matters the most. Does it over time actually lead to more fat loss or not? And most of these things it doesn't. So when we looked at this study specifically, there was no difference. And like I said, when we look at all the other research that has been coming out on fat burners leading up to this point, the effects are all very small, if any at all. In some fat burners, like I know this one, the result is, you burned an extra 68 calories per day. But other fat burners might market that they help suppress your appetite or help to reduce your appetite. But most research doesn't even really support that much. Or if they do, it's to a small degree. It's really not as much appetite suppressant as what you think. And there are other ways to help appetite control too. One being caffeine too. Like caffeine is actually a pretty common supplement or ingredient in a lot of these fat burners because it does sometimes act as like an appetite suppressant for a lot of people, at least temporarily. But like you could just buy regular caffeine or just have a cup of coffee and get that same effect from whatever that fat burner would be, that small effect of, suppressing your appetite, and it'd be much cheaper. And there are other more quote unquote natural ways to help with appetite control too. Like eating more protein, eating more vegetables, eating more fruit, eating more whole grains that have more fiber to them. Also, better sleep. I know it sounds boring. I know it's I've heard this a million times to improve my sleep, but better sleep will dramatically improve your cravings, improve your hunger, or decrease hunger if you are getting really poor sleep. Poor sleep quantity, so not getting enough hours, but also better sleep quality will improve your hunger, your cravings throughout the day as well. Also, too, not even mentioning our feelings of psychological hunger we have. Sometimes the hunger we feel isn't even physiological or physical. A lot of times it's just psychological. You're walking through the kitchen and you see a package of Oreos right on the counter and you start to crave them, but you're really not actually that hungry. Doing simple things as far as putting those Oreos in the pantry so they're behind a closed door can help to decrease that feeling of hunger or cravings. Putting them maybe on the top shelf behind things so you don't see them at first glance when you open the pantry. That's another way to decrease those more psychological feelings of hunger. Also stress management, managing our emotions, all those things help to manage our psychological hunger too. And I would argue putting your focus on all of those things versus stressing about some kind of fat burner that helps you burn maybe 68 calories more at rest, but doesn't even actually cause any actual fat loss after 4 weeks. Focusing on those other variables are one, less expensive or free, and two, they actually have a much greater effect. And also too, I looked this up, and this specific fat burner, And it might have changed the formulation since this study was done. But the specific fat burner is about $60 for 60 servings. But you're supposed to take 2 servings a day. So it's basically $60 for a month's worth of this fat burner that, like I said, over a 4-week time span has not been shown to increase fat loss at all. And you could easily, like, even if you have the mindset of, okay, these people weren't tracking their food, so if I tracked my food and hit my calorie goal but took this fat burner, I'd burn 68 calories less per day. True, but you could easily make up for those 68 calories by either eating 68 calories less, which is like the equivalent of eating like 1 less apple a day, maybe. Could be the equivalent of eating like 1 less or a half of a serving of potato chips, like eating that less. So it's not a whole lot of food that you would like decrease by if you were to just try to create that deficit by eating a little bit less. Or you could burn 68 more calories per day through like intentional walking. Like you could probably walk for 10 minutes and probably burn 68 calories, if not more. So like, it's just not like, what does that say? The juice is not worth the squeeze when it comes to this. And I'm right there with you. I too wish there was some magic supplement or pill to take that would dramatically increase the amount of calories I burn, or dramatically increase or dramatically reduce my appetite. But there just isn't. And like, there are definitely chemicals, drugs, things out there that may have a pretty significant impact on this kind of stuff. But those are ones that usually are like illegal, like, performance enhancing drugs that bodybuilders take and this and that. And they have really nasty side effects. When it comes to these like just over the counter supplements you can order online, and this, like, they're not going to make a difference, and you're really just wasting your money, and you're putting false hope into something that really doesn't get you much of a result. So hate to rain on your parade a little bit if you're looking at a fat burner, but at the same time, it'll save you some money. Focus on the things that matter: hitting your calories, hitting your protein, getting good quality of sleep, plenty of fruits and vegetables, getting enough fiber, exercising regularly, stress management. Those things done consistently in the right amounts is what is really going to, cause the results that you want to happen, not taking some kind of, expensive supplement once a month that through the research has shown that it just doesn't work. So hopefully it's opened your eyes a little bit. Definitely let me know if you enjoyed this. If you like these kind of like new research review things, thought it was kind of cool to talk about and kind of debunk that myth of the fat burners. So maybe they should like change the name to like, I don't know, wallet burners or money burners, because they're kind of a waste of money. But hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely make sure, you share this on your Instagram stories, Facebook stories, share it with a friend, whether you're listening live in the group or you're listening to the podcast later. Definitely share it. Appreciate you all, and I will see you guys in the next one.